And what you think Kevin Stefanski gonna do with this quarterback situation?
He better figure it out. Because you got Kirk O. You got Michael Penix.
I'm mixing that. With Kyle Pitts, Michael Penix.
You got Michael Penix, who is almost a second coming of Shedeur, the left-hand version.
Yeah.
How you gonna handle it? We seen what you did with Shedeur. And it was unacceptable. Players, from what we've seen, don't get better with Kevin Stefanski. And I'm looking at the personnel of the Atlanta Falcons. They're a young team. You got Michael Penix as your quarterback. Drake London as your receiver. Kyle Pitts.
Bijan.
Like, that's a very young team. Like, your team is young. It's like you're inheriting something that's already great and ready to rock and roll.
Arthur Blank is heated. The Atlanta Falcons owner and chairman is reportedly furious behind closed doors, and the tension inside the building has reached a boiling point. The man he brought in to lead this franchise into the future, Kevin Stefanski, is already stirring up controversy. And this time, it's not about play calling or offensive schemes. Stefanski is reportedly pushing the front office to bring in a new quarterback, basically asking the organization to bench their own guy, Michael Penix Jr., before he even gets a real chance to prove himself. And Arthur Blank, he is not having it.
La Canfora basically says that the Falcons are going to move on from Michael Penix Jr. That's what that indicates to me.
The Atlanta Falcons are one of the most exciting young teams coming up in the league right now. This roster is loaded with young black talent making real noise, making real plays, and showing real promise. These are players who are hungry, who are passionate, and who represent the culture of Atlanta, one of the most iconic black cities in America. And at the center of it all, under center, is Michael Penix Jr., a young quarterback who has already shown flashes of brilliance and the kind of raw talent franchises dream about. The future looked bright. The vision was clear. Then Stefanski started making demands that nobody in that building saw coming. Reports are now surfacing that Stefanski has asked the team to bring in a new quarterback for the upcoming season, not to compete with Penn, not to push him, but to basically change the direction the franchise was headed. And to make matters worse, the details of the type of quarterback Stefanski is pushing for have people inside and outside the organization raising serious eyebrows. The front office has since sat down to discuss the situation, weighing their options, either replace Stefanski himself or convince him to fully commit to developing Michael Penix and let this young man grow. As of now, no final decision has been made, but the tension inside that building is real. It's thick, and it's impossible to ignore. Here's what makes this situation even more frustrating for Falcons leadership. They didn't hire Stefanski to come in and tear down a vision. They hired him to elevate it. They wanted someone to take this project to the next level, to be the architect who takes all this young talent and molds it into a real championship contender. Instead, what they're getting is a coach who seems more interested in bringing in outside pieces to override the very players this organization has been carefully building around. It doesn't make sense to anyone in the building. Nobody can understand why a coach would walk into a situation with this much talent and immediately try to blow it up. And you know who saw this coming? Cam Newton. Cam came out firing the moment the Falcons announced Stefanski's hiring, and his main target was crystal clear. He questioned how Falcons ownership could look at Stefanski's track record, especially his handling of Shedeur Sanders in Cleveland, and think this was the right man to lead their franchise. Cam didn't mince words. He flat out said Stefanski denied Shedeur a real opportunity, not because Shedeur lacked talent, not because Shedeur wasn't ready, but because of who Shedeur is, where he comes from, and what he represents. Shedeur Sanders represents hood culture, authentic black culture, and according to Cam Newton, guys like Stefanski simply can't or won't embrace that. Quote, the left-hand version, yeah, how you gonna handle it? We seen what you did with Shedeur. Oh, and it was unacceptable. Think about the optics for a second. You've got a coach coming out of Cleveland, a city where only a handful of black stars truly represented the culture. Now he's been dropped into Atlanta, Georgia, a city where the fan base is predominantly black, where the community lives and breathes this team, where the culture is the identity of the franchise. The disconnect couldn't be more obvious. Cam Newton made sure everybody noticed it. And now those concerns are turning into a very real, very documented reality. Newton asked the question that's been echoing across social media since this hire went down. If Stefanski treated Shedeur Sanders this badly in Cleveland, what makes anyone believe he'll do things differently in Atlanta? Because this isn't about one bad day or one bad decision. It's about a pattern of failing to develop and support young black quarterbacks who come from that authentic cultural background. When you really look at what happened in Cleveland, when you strip away the noise and focus on what actually went down with Shedeur, the picture Cam Newton painted becomes hard to argue with. Cam was unapologetic about it. He said people would try to frame Shedeur as the problem, that the narrative would get twisted to make it seem like the young quarterback was the issue, but Cam refused to let that version stand. The real problem, he said, was Stefanski. And now here we are in Atlanta, watching the same energy creep into a new building, affecting another young black quarterback and threatening to derail an entire franchise's direction. This isn't speculation anymore. The dots are connecting in real time. What Cam Newton was really getting at goes beyond just Shedeur Sanders or even Michael Penix Jr. This is about the bigger picture, about what it means when coaches like Stefanski are given control over rosters full of young black talent and then proceed to undermine those players at every turn. The Falcons don't just have Penix, they have a roster of young prodigies, young men with massive potential, young players who deserve a coach who believes in them, who develops them, who puts them in positions to succeed. When you put someone like Stefanski at the head of that table, what are you really expecting to happen?
Players, from what we've seen, don't get better with Kevin Stefanski. And I'm looking at the personnel of the Atlanta Falcons. They're a young team. You got Michael Penix as your quarterback, Drake London as your receiver, Kyle Pitts,
Bijan.
Like that's a very young team. Like your team is young. It's like you're inheriting something that's already great and ready to rock and roll.
Cam said it himself. Atlanta has a team of young prodigies, but Stefanski hasn't shown the ability to do anything productive with young players, especially when those young players are black. The Shedeur Sanders situation isn't an isolated incident. It's Exhibit A in a larger argument about coaching culture, about bias, and about who gets the benefit of the doubt in this league and who doesn't. When a white quarterback struggles early, organizations rally around him, give him time, and bring in pieces to support him. When a young black quarterback from an authentic cultural background hits a rough patch, too often the conversation shifts to whether the quarterback is the problem. Arthur Blank signed off on bringing Stefanski to Atlanta with a vision in mind. He built this roster with intention. He's watched these young players grow. He sees what Michael Penix Jr. can become. And now he's sitting in meetings, reportedly furious, trying to understand how the man he trusted to execute that vision is already trying to completely redirect it. The chairman of the Falcons didn't build this team just to hand the keys to someone who doesn't believe in the quarterback sitting in that locker room. He built this team to win with the talent that's already here. So now the question is, what happens next? Does Blank overrule Stefanski and make it crystal clear that Michael Penix Jr. is the franchise quarterback? No debates, no negotiations? Or does the organization decide this relationship is already too damaged and move on from Stefanski before the situation turns completely toxic? Or does this just keep festering, creating internal tension that ends up hurting the players, the ones who have done absolutely nothing wrong in this situation? Cam Newton warned Atlanta. He looked at what happened in Cleveland. He looked at Stefanski's track record and sounded the alarm loud and clear. At the time, some people brushed it off. Some people said Cam was being too aggressive, too quick to judge. But watching this drama unfold inside the Atlanta Falcons organization right now, it's hard to say Cam Newton was wrong about even one thing he said. The man called it, and it's playing out exactly how he said it would. Michael Penix Jr. deserves better. The Atlanta Falcons deserve better. And this city, this culture, this fan base deserves a coach who actually wants to be there and truly believes in the people wearing that jersey. Arthur Blank knows it, the front office knows it, and now the entire football world is watching to see what they're going to do about it.